Welcome back, my friends, to another Social Tech TV update. My name's David. Now, we're over here once again at Reuters, where they're letting us know that Relativity postpones Florida launch of 3D printed Terran rocket. And before I forget, like, share, subscribe, greatly appreciated. And don't forget to tap that little notification bell so you get these updates when they drop. All right, so California-based startup Relativity Space called off the planned debut launch of its 3D printed rocket in Florida on Wednesday over fuel temperature concerns, delaying a key test of the company's novel strategy for cutting manufacturing costs. Yeah, it's very interesting. That there does not look too healthy, does it? A little bit of a unless I'm imagining things, but yes, anyway. There you go. There's the rocket on the launch pad. The 110-foot-tall, 35-metre Terran 1 rocket, 85% of which was fabricated from a 3D printer, had been scheduled to lift off from a US Space Force-based launch pad in Cape Canaveral on Wednesday afternoon. Dwindling propellant thermal conditions in the rocket's second stage during a 3-hour launch window ultimately forced a scrub, the company said on Twitter. Yeah, it's a bit of a shame, isn't it? But look, these things happen and you've got to start somewhere. Just pick yourself up, dust yourself off and start all over again. Relativity CEO Tim Ellis said in another Twitter post that it will take a few days until our next attempt. California-based Relativity is one of a handful of US rocket startups competing to meet the growing demand for cheap launch services, has bet on the cost savings it expects to achieve using giant robotic 3D printers to simplify its rocket production lines. Now, most of its rivals are focused on lowering costs by building rockets designed to be reusable, such as the Falcon 9 boosters produced by Elon Musk's SpaceX. Now, their inaugural launch is intended to validate the company's supposition that its rocket's 3D printed structure can withstand the forces of a launch off Earth. Now this will be very interesting. There's a little video here, and I think we should watch it. Nice little short one, but it'll give you a little bit more context about what's going on with this. It's quite fascinating.
Relativity Space is 3D printing rockets. So this is the world's first nearly entirely 3D printed rocket. It's 85% 3D printed out of metal. So we invented the world's largest metal 3D printers. We have our own in-house team that has designed this rocket from a blank piece of paper. We've built our own rocket engines. We've built our own factory with the world's largest metal 3D printers, our own custom aluminum alloys. We've tested this rocket extensively on the ground at our test facility at NASA Stennis Space Center, and then now we're about to launch it from a launch site at Cape Canaveral, Florida. Relativity's first launch has a bunch of firsts. Not only is it our first rocket launch, this is the world's first 3D printed rocket. It is by far the most amount of 3D printing content of any other product ever made that we're aware of. So it's the largest 3D printed object in the world out of metal. So lots of firsts on 3D printing and demonstrating the viability of that technology. Of course, this is just one more step and one more challenge in our company's trajectory that we're excited to overcome and keep moving forward as we've done now to get to this point.
Yeah, that's quite interesting, isn't it? I have a funny feeling that 3D printers are the what's the word? Star Trek replicators of the 21st century. So you can see what's going to happen in the future. This is a very, very, very primitive version of a Star Trek replicator, if you know what I mean. It's quite interesting. You know, shame it didn't work the first time, but hey, a lot of things don't. You know, just keep going, guys. That's what I say. The launch that we're preparing for is an opportunity to demonstrate a whole bunch of things all at once. Josh Brost, Relativity's Senior Vice President of Revenue, told Reuters ahead of the planned launch attempt. Now, Brost called the Terran 1 by far the largest 3D printed structure that's ever been assembled. The 3D printing process, widely used in various industries, involves machines that autonomously print sequential layers of soft, liquid, or powdered materials that are quickly hardened or fused to form solid three-dimensional objects. Designs of the objects are scanned from digital blueprints. I'll drop a video I made below this video a while ago on 3D printing. It's absolutely quite amazing. It's just incredible. Now, the use of 3D printers, Bross said, allows Relativity to hasten much of its manufacturing processes and more easily make changes to improve the rocket's design if needed after it flies, eliminating the need for a complex supply chain that would otherwise slow down rocket enhancements. Now, first launches of new rockets are notoriously prone to have different reasons that they need to scrub, Bross said, so it would not be at all unlikely for us to even need a couple of attempts to get through the countdown and liftoff for our inaugural launch. And good luck to them, I say. Now, while the expendable Terran 1 is built to carry 2,755 pounds or 1,250 kilograms of satellites to low Earth orbit, waning demand for that class of launch vehicle has led Relativity to develop a larger 3D printed reusable rocket, the Terran R, that it expects to fly in 2024. Now, currently driving demand are the so-called mega constellation plans by companies such as SpaceX, OneWeb, and Jeff Bezos' Amazon to deploy tens of thousands of internet beaming satellites to low Earth orbit over the next few years. Now, SpaceX flies its own heavy lift rockets to get the Starlink network into orbit, while Amazon and OneWeb plan to use similar large rockets from various launch companies for their own satellites. OneWeb will launch its next generation satellites on Relativity's Terran R, the companies announced last year. Now, Relativity is headquartered in Long Beach, California, and has a roughly $1.65 billion worth of launch contracts secured for both rockets, with the bulk of that revenue attributable to the larger Terran R. Now, while the market demand for its rockets like Terran 1 has weakened, Bross said the rocket's upcoming flights will inform how Terran R is engineered. Now, asked if Relativity is still selling Terran 1 to customers, Bross said the company continues to talk to people about both vehicles. Yes, you may find a use for both particular models. That would be interesting. But you've all got to learn something and start somewhere. I find it fascinating with people. They'll look at something and go, well, that's a load of garbage. It doesn't work. You're not thinking ahead. Everything that we use now and use regularly and rely on at one point was a prototype and was a complete load of rubbish. I can remember a friend of mine made a solar barbecue that was based literally on a beach umbrella, and he inverted it. So like like picture an umbrella upside down, right, with the curvature, right? He inside was tin foil, and this is the prototype from like nearly 20 years ago, and underneath it, the material for the cover that he had to protect it, his mother sewed it for him out of a bunch of old curtains that had ducks on it or something. And everyone laughed and thought it was the funniest thing he'd ever seen. But it worked. He was able to boil water with it. He was able to do, he's able to do all this stuff with it. But then when he eventually got to a production stage and was able to make it out of metal, my God, everyone wanted it. But it was still just as good as the one with the little ducks that his mother made on it for him. It's quite fascinating. And similar idea with this. You can laugh at it at the moment, but you give it another year or two and everyone will think this is great. This is amazing. It's just normal now. Fascinating. All right, well, my name is David. Thanks for joining me for another Social Tech TV update. I shall see you in the next one. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, subscribe. I greatly appreciate it. And you're up for it, drop a comment below this video. I'd love to hear what you think. All right, take care, and I'll see you in the next one. And if you, as I always say, if you can't be good at it. And when we see you next time, we'll catch up again. And we'll check out some more space tech and science news. Can't wait. See you soon.
Fascinating.